Welcome to OCL Sound Waves for the Ocean County Library. I'm Tom Angeli. Ocean County teems with great artists. We're very lucky to have one of them with us this morning. Meet Jim Doremus. He's a New Jersey native, but his travels and experiences took him far and wide, straying from the world of art, but always keeping it in sight. And after finishing high school, he made sure that he didn't let his best girl get away. He married her, settled in a rustic town in upstate New York, where he ran a successful printing concern. Fast forward 30 years, Jim washes the ink from his hands, returns to New Jersey, and finally in 2017, a half century after his last class at the School of Visual Arts in New York, Jim returns to the easel and canvas. His creations have proven so compelling that he's received commissions from around the country, and he's still learning. Jim, welcome in.
Thank you, Tom. It's nice to be here.
It's nice to know that we have this tremendous enclave of artists in Ocean County, and they give so freely of their work and their time to populate the walls of the library.
They do, yeah.
And let me just start out by asking, you started out kind of an artistic hotshot, and then you took a big detour, but what was it that attracted you to art in the first place?
Well, as a young kid, I can remember even back when I was 5, 6 years old, I always had some kind of crayons in my hand or markers, much to the dismay sometimes of my mother, because I would color on the walls and things. But I've always done something artistic. I did some photography for a while, but I was always drawn back to the sketch pads and the easel and wanted to paint. So that's pretty much as far back as I can remember. I've done something along the artistic lines.
Did you see this artistic bent starting to flourish by the time you hit high school?
A little bit, yeah. My parents encouraged me to go to school. Back in 1965, when I graduated high school, they encouraged me to go to art school. And I applied to School of Visual Arts, New York City. I was accepted, much to my surprise. But I spent 2 years there studying. I was always a bad student. I just like to party and chase girls around, but when you're 18
so you're a
years old,
typical student.
I was 18 years old. So I didn't pay much attention while I was in school, but obviously some of this stuff sunk in. So that's pretty much the whole background as far as where I started. Mm-hmm. And then I kind of drifted away from it. Life, things get in the way. Even though raising my family in upstate New York, I was still always doodling or doing something. Never anything formal, but I drive my wife crazy with that. Just doodling. I doodle on everything. So, but I was always doing something that would be artistic.
Jim, with all that training, and when you're a kid, when you're a student, it's a training mode that you're in mentally and physically. But when did it hit you, or when did you decide that you really had something to say on canvas?
Well, that wasn't until many years later. I had retired from the FBI and spent 10 years with them, and then took a job here locally with the local hospital and in their security unit. And I had a lot of free time on my hands, so again, I would start doodling. And I started out I'd take some paper out of their photocopier and my ballpoint pen, which I always had to have handy, and I would doodle pictures. And people were telling me, that's really nice, you should sell your stuff. And I was always, who's going to like my stuff? And then I had one young lady took one of my drawings and actually had a tattoo made and put on her back, which I thought, well, okay, maybe there is something here. So I started doing initially drawings of animals, pets, and one thing led to another. I was kind of challenged by a friend of mine that I play golf with to draw a picture of his dog. So I said, sure, I could do that. So I did it. And I worked in an art form called stippling, which is just placing dots and lines down on the paper to create an image. And he was pretty impressed with it, with the final piece. In fact, he actually bought it from me. And as time went on, I had more and more people ask for pet portraits to be done. And those things led to other things where I started trying to do landscapes. And what I found interesting were lighthouses. And I did maybe a dozen different lighthouses from around the country, from photographs that either I found on the internet or people would send me. And I sold a number of lighthouse pictures. It just kept going and going. And when I was active here in the local art guilds, I joined both the Ocean County Art Guild and the Crestwood Village Art Guild. They encouraged me to go into color. They thought I would be able to sell more. I thought, well, I'm a little intimidated by the color, so I tried, of all things, I chose, of course, the most difficult medium, which was watercolor, and I turned everything into mud, which is what happens with most people in watercolor. So I thought, well, I really have to learn this, because now this is starting to make me angry. I'm getting mud. And so I went on YouTube, and I found a number of people that I have been following. One young lady from England by the name of Lois Davidson, and I really liked her stuff, and she recommended in one of her videos a fellow from Australia by the name of Scott Swinson. And I really admire Scott Swinson. He does very large abstract landscapes that are incredibly beautiful, and he just kind of gets in there and throws some color down, makes marks on the paper, and then makes something out of it. It's incredible when he does it. So that's the point that I'm at now, is that I did a lot of realistic watercolors for a while. But again, they're very difficult in keeping the colors proper and controlling the water. And again, I kept ending up with a lot of mud. Some of the stuff came out pretty good, but most of the time it was mud. And for maybe every 15 pieces that I would paint, I would end up maybe with a painting. A lot of stuff ended up in the garbage. Well, not really the garbage, because I saved things. Mm-hmm. And just to see the progression of my art and see where, if I'm learning or not learning. And that's been very helpful to me.
But you like the challenge, obviously.
I've always liked the challenge. Mm. That's one of the reasons I left the printing industry and went joined the FBI. That's probably one of the biggest challenges I've had in my life.
So after you've spent a while and you've been beating your head against the wall with the watercolors, what media do you go back to for your comfort zone? What do you go back to and say, I know I could do this. I need to just do this.
I go back to my stippling with the black and white. I use for the stippling. I use a black permanent ink, very fine points, so that I can make either little tiny dots or big dots to give me the image that I need. People are amazed that you can just, with one color, the different varieties that you can come up with. And they say, how do you do that? And it's just a matter of using different size dots and different dots that are closer together or farther apart. And I learned a lot of that in the printing industry also. Of course, we would do color separations in the camera, so it made it a lot easier. The stippling drawings take me sometimes a long time. I have several drawings, pets, animals. I have a dog, a bulldog drawing that I did. I probably have over 36 hours into. And it took me a good solid week to do this one drawing, where with a watercolor I can throw it together in about 10 minutes now. So there's a big difference. So I'm getting comfortable with the watercolor, but I'd still go back to black and white drawings a lot.
Tell me a little bit about the artistic eye. Yeah, I can look at a dog and I would not know what to do. You can give me a brush, you can give me a pen, and I'm going to stand there until somebody does it for me. How do you see things? How do you see things that the rest of us don't?
Well, drawing and painting, a lot of it is a learned skill. A lot of people tell me, oh, I can't draw a straight line. You'd be surprised. It's really it's a learned art. It's a learned talent. And if you just do it enough times, you'll eventually get a straight line. And you'll advance to stick people, and then you'll go to people with, some sort of realistic expressions. But it really is, it's a learned experience. Mm-hmm. And sometimes it takes people a short period of time to learn, and sometimes some people take a longer period. But for the most part, it's really a learned experience.
Your foundation then is in animals, you said. Have you branched out from pets to other forms of wildlife? Have you done
I've
landscapes?
Done a lot of landscapes. A lot of the watercolor I've done is landscapes. I've used some photographs as inspiration. Sometimes living up in the Adirondacks, of course, I have a lot of pictures in my head that I remember, and I can put them down on paper. They seem to attract a lot of people.
You mentioned that you have had several commissions.
Yes.
And all over the country.
Yes.
What are they looking for in specific when you accept a commission?
Well, most of the time, the commissions that I have accepted have been for pet portraits. Dogs that have passed away, cats that are difficult to get to sit still. Several people have had, I have one gentleman from Florida who had two different cats. One cat passed away, another cat was very active, but he had a picture of each cat, separate pictures. He sent them to me, and I was able to take and compose the two cats together. And that came out very well. He was very happy with that. And I've done the same thing for several people with dogs. A lot of people who don't have children might have 2-3 dogs, and they like to have them all in one picture. Unfortunately, they can't get them to sit still long enough together to get a photograph. So they have me put them together in a picture. And that takes a while. What I'll do is I'll work on my computer a little bit, and I'll take and superimpose one photograph on top of another, and then work from that. Mm-hmm. That seems to work out.
You've also made your mark in several in competitions.
Yes, I've won awards in the Ocean County Seniors 2 years ago. I won first place prize there, and that was then sent off to the state tournament competition, and I came back with a honorable mention there. Another show that I won awards in was the Lacey Art Show. They have I don't know if they're going to have it again this year, but hopefully things will get back to normal. But in the past, they had a very large art show, and it was held in one of the churches right on Lacey Road there. And I couldn't even tell you how many artists were involved, but we're each allowed to place 3 pieces into the show. And I came back with an honorable mention and a first place prize there. So, and that's just the 2 best ones so far.
What's it like being an artist and placing yourself in competition with other artists?
Far more critical of our own work than we are of other people's work. Things that people tell me are really nice, I'm looking at and I'm saying, they'll tell me, oh no, you got to put this into a competition. And each time that I do, I end up okay. I have some kind of an accolade. So it's fun to get that. It's nice to know that other people acknowledge what you're doing.
Mm-hmm.
I ran into a good friend of mine that I went to college with many years ago, and she encouraged me to keep going. She looked at some of my stuff, and I said to her, well, I don't know that I want to put it into competitions or try and sell this stuff. And she said, well, you're not going to know unless you try. So I bit the bullet, put it into some competitions, and lo and behold, it turned out pretty good. So I'm happy with it so far.
Jim, think about the kid who is in the School of Visual Arts. Think about the kid who's now retired and enjoying life and finally doing something that he planned on years ago. If you could talk to that kid back then, if you could have a conversation across the years with him, what would you tell him?
Stay in school, pay attention, don't party so much. Those things come with life, but stay in school, learn as much as you can. My grandmother always told me, no education ever goes to waste. Education doesn't matter in what, never goes to waste. You always use it somewhere along the line, which has come to be true. Although I can't remember the last time I used my algebra, so that's sort of but most of the things that I learned when I was in school have always helped me out one way or another in a surprising fashion. So yeah, I think I would encourage myself to stay in school.
Jim, I can't wait to see your work on the walls.
Well, me neither. I enjoy putting my stuff up and showing it at the different shows. I have a show coming up next month in Atlantic Highlands that my stuff will be displayed. So
what's the date and where's the location?
It's in Atlantic Highlands in the Memorial Park on July 17th from 10 a.m. till 4 p.m. So that's a Saturday. And this will be an interesting outing for me. Though I've been in other shows, I've never had my own little booth. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
I've always been there with 10 or 12 other people. So, and I believe we have a show with the Crestwood Village Artists Guild. We've done it numerous times in the past at Barnabas Hospital out in at the Board Hospital. That's
in Brownsville.
Yeah, in Brownsville. And that's usually in August. So hopefully I'll be able to get display some work there. I sold a few pieces last time. Okay.
For more great virtual programming, subscribe to the Ocean County Library's YouTube channel. Check us out on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, Pinterest, and Snapchat. Catch our other fine podcasts. Visit theoceancountylibrary.org and stop in at any of our 21 branches. Thank you for listening.
Support public libraries. Like, share, and subscribe for more great videos.